Okay, ladies and gentlemen, beautiful people, on my way to the post office to mail off packages, I've decided to come on and talk about masculine energy and the divine masculine energy, how that manifests or how that should manifest within us, around us, so that we'll be able to exchange energy properly with men. So one of the issues that I'm hearing and that I'm reacting to is that men don't want other men. So they don't want women who exhibit any type of masculine traits, or you're kind of like somebody that they're trying to stay clear from. They don't want to marry you. So, my name is Dr. D. Oracle. I am a psychic medium, and that's what I do on my channel. I give people insight and information through readings, metaphysical information, because I tap into my spiritual senses to perceive past, present, and future, as well as tapping into my intuition to get a deeper understanding of people's attitudes, behaviors, and just the way that they think in general. And so today I'm going to be talking about masculine energy, what it's supposed to do, and how we attach ourselves to that masculine energy as we navigate the world in modern times, okay? So let's just talk about the presence of the divine masculine. What that does is that sets up the environment. It makes the rules about the environment. So when we're talking about things like universal law, submitting, or the man being the head of the household, we're talking about his ability to have created an environment that maintains your survival. Okay, ladies? This doesn't have anything to do with being high value, just to let you know, because there are some men who don't make high value income, and they can still create an environment that maintains life. Okay, so the universe kind of does that on a larger scale. Like, you don't get to pick the planet that you're on or anything. You just wake up here, or you're born here, and the next thing you know, you have to follow things like, okay, I know I have to plant a seed in order for something to grow. The divine masculine, or what we term sometimes as God, generally has already made the rules, and you have to adapt to them. You have to evolve to them. You have to go along with the flow. Now, you can find different ways to make it more convenient or comfortable for you, but overall, you can't change some of the rules, like the sun rising and setting every day, the planetary locations, and other laws that we have to live by as far as planting and harvesting, the seasons. We're stuck in those patterns. So the masculine energy pretty much creates an environment, and it also stays within those laws that it's created. It doesn't go outside those laws. So if we bring that down to a smaller scale, we can say that if a man creates a home for himself, he has created a home for a female, okay? That should be one of the requirements to take on a wife and be able to exchange energy with the divine feminine. The reason why women are becoming more masculine is because we also have stepped into that role. When we're providing for ourselves, we're working, okay, and we've created some sort of home for ourselves, that some of us has decided to bring a man into, which I'm not judging that, but you have already taken on the masculine role, okay? If you've created a home, if you created your own space and you've brought a male into your home, you have already been masculine. You're playing that role. As modern women, we've created a lot of things for ourselves. So we cannot really understand how it is that men don't desire that equality, okay, that we've created with them. It kind of takes away from the way that they're looked at as special, okay? So you know how we worship God, or people worship God as a special being because nobody can do what it is that the Most High God or the universe does. That's kind of sort of how a man wants to be reverenced. It's sort of in his nature, okay? But he also has to claim his stake by creating that environment so that when we come into that, we can exist within those laws and naturally take on that feminine essence or role. There aren't a lot of men doing that, and if you want to really step into your feminine essence, it's best to use that approach, which is finding a man who has already created a home for himself. So that is the presence of the divine masculine. Women are very versatile. If you notice, we're females or womb men. So we have an additional aspect to us where we're also able to tap into that divine masculine energy. And sometimes that hasn't been recognized. So, you know, when man does create that environment and he says, okay, woman, I sit you here, you know, take care of this environment and I promise to maintain your survival. That's what marriage is about. They generally have taken our exchange of energy for granted. And so that's where the movement of feminism is birthed from, because we generally want them to know, hey, you know, we're cool with the way that you want to do things, but we can do, you know, this type of thing ourselves. We don't need you to do this, but we're more than willing to exchange energy how you want, as long as you value what we bring to the table. And sometimes men haven't valued that. They've taken all the credit on, or they've diminished your role as a woman to take care of children and take care of the home. In the past, one of the arguments that women had was that men would basically say, I go to work every day and I take care of the bills, so what you're doing is really nothing. And women were like, hey, what I'm doing is something, because without me, your kids wouldn't be here. They wouldn't be able to eat, you know, and you would basically not have a partner. You wouldn't have anyone to exchange energy with, which would make your job a little bit more harder if you had to come home and cook your own meals every day or wash your own clothes. And so women opted to go into the workforce, because with that, not only would we be able to do things like provide for ourselves when a man didn't want us anymore, okay, which happens. In South America, they're taking brides right now as young as 14, 15 years old. They have 2 or 3 kids by them, and by the time the women are 23 or 24, no man wants them anymore, not even the men that they were with. This introduces polygamy into the standard, okay, which a lot of men talk about and they claim to be naturally prone to. And it also introduces the sexual standard that we have today, because men opt to have that sexual exchange of energy whether or not they are able to maintain a woman's survival. And that's where things like prostitution came from. Like, some women needed to survive and they didn't have a man, and so they were like, okay, we can provide this exchange of energy for you as long as you pay us, okay? And so that divine masculine energy kind of set, those standards to where sexual energy for them is more about coming into an exchange of energy, whether or not they are able to provide these things. But as long as they have money, then they can still get that energy. Those are male standards that have already been set even before the 60s or the sexual revolution. Men had already set those standards. As we know, prostitution is one of the oldest professions in the world, if not the. And so with that standard being set, and women fighting for their equality and stepping into that masculine role of being able to help create environments by providing and making themselves secure with weapons, okay, or woman power, men, they couldn't claim, the credit for that anymore. And that's where we are today in modern times. That divine masculine energy can't claim all of the credit anymore, because we're tapping into that energy as well. So men are saying, no. We don't want you guys to tap into that energy. We want you guys to be feminine, but you have to understand it takes two incomes these days. And so I think that's why a lot of women are saying that they want a high value man, or they're rating themselves higher because they have tapped into that energy themselves. And there are some men who have provided a home for themselves, so they can provide that for women, but some of them have really big egos. And so they rather see women compete and squander, after them, because they feel like, I'm a prize. This is something that I've done that other men haven't done. And so I can get women to, pretty much fight for a place in my life. Definitely, I feel like we've placed ourselves in that position. So, by having your own, you can step into that masculine role, but you can't be stereotypical if you've done that. And then also, still your art of reasoning and negotiation is important. But men, you have to create the environment. You set the standard, okay? So if you're requiring women to compete for your attention or for their place in your life, or to fight over you, you're also pulling masculine energy, from women for that purpose. So I say that to say this. The divine masculine energy has to start off with the standard. If you allow a woman to make the standard, then you have placed yourself in a position to exchange masculine energy with a woman, period. And most men have. And that's why they know the masculine side of a woman. It's not for any other reason. It's not because we want to fight them or to challenge them, but we definitely have a right to step into our bosshood if we're tapping into that divine masculine energy, and you welcome that energy from us. We don't have a problem with that sometimes. A lot of us women have stepped into our divine masculine role, And some of us have said, okay, we're okay with a man not making that much money or being the sole provider. We're okay with that. But when a man comes into that sort of situation and tries to exchange energy with women, sometimes it's taken advantage of, okay? So it's used more from an opportunistic standpoint of what can I get out of this, okay? So that's a lie that men don't sometimes rate us according to what we have. Because some men who are opportunists or some men who are okay with that type of woman look at her assets on a material, financial, economic level and understand that they will benefit from that in some way. Okay? And then stepping into that role, what they do sometimes is they expect for you to give them submission in order for them to be the boss, but they haven't proved that they can create or maintain anything to you. When we do that, we start to resent ourselves, because then we start expecting that man to, exchange more masculine energy with us than they've shown us in the beginning. Not going to work, ladies. Not going to work. You have to step into that role in the beginning. If not, men, you have to give us partnership. You should give that to us regardless. But you can't expect us to submit to your problem solving and decision making skills. It ain't going to happen. We'll probably give you opportunities to influence us or to find out your opinion or what you would prefer in certain circumstances, or give the decision making completely over to you in other circumstances. But you won't be able to claim that bosshood, okay? You won't. There's nothing wrong with these types of relationships because some people just know how to flow back and forth with that energy. Some men generally respect a queen. Some men generally respect a queen and her power to be a boss. And so they understand how to kind of flow with that energy, especially if they can exchange that role of being a boss in different times, okay? This has nothing to do with being cooperative or being a pick-me or anything like that. It just has to do, again, with being able to step inside and outside of negotiating and reasoning versus logic and judgment. And when we bring the two together, we're actually adding another dimension to ourselves with a partner or a mate, because that partner brings that other side to us. And we're both switching off and, taking over that to create, to problem solve, and to make decisions, okay? To reason, to negotiate. Those are the true human skills. But the masculine energy in reality is able to create an environment to maintain the survival of life. That is the basic point of this video, to explain that to both men and women. So that does sometimes equate to how he gets his money, how strong he is. But those are characteristics. Those have to do with mindset and the way that people think, whether they're using the right or the left side of their brain to approach problem solving. Women usually use the right side, okay? But we can tap into both, okay? And go back and forth. It's a little bit harder for men to tap into their divine feminine, okay? Because you have to put the ego down a lot, to allow yourself to receive intuitional guidance and insight. Men aren't really good at that. They master logic, okay? and judgment based off of what's already here right now. They're really not too adaptable. They're kind of coarse with it. And so that's why you have to reason and negotiate with them, because they just go off of what's available at that time. If you give them free sex and they don't have to give anything for it, they won't. And I keep saying that women are the ones who created culture, customs, marriage. And I'm going to go into the article again about, how women have a stronger presence on the planet and creating life than men do. Okay? But for now, women, if there's any accountability that you want to take accountability for not having great skills to reason or negotiate with men, not cooperate. I don't like that word. Not compromise, but reason and negotiate, where that's an exchange of energy going back and forth saying, okay, I'm willing to commit to this, you're willing to commit to that, and bringing that together inside of an agreement, okay? Also, if you want to take accountability, you can also take accountability for devaluing yourself, when it comes to your negotiations or your reasoning. Because if you're going to put your body out there, that's your most prized and valuable possession, is you. We did stop believing in that. We did stop clinging to, that value system. So you want to be accountable for that. And then you also want to be accountable for your masculine energy and tapping into that masculine energy. Why are you tapping into that masculine energy so much? Well, because you had to fend for yourself. You had to create your own environment. You've had to protect yourself. Nobody has stepped in to do that for you sometimes, okay? And if someone has, then your accountability comes in you pretty much pushing that away. Pushing that protection and that security away. Some of us have wanted to get out of our houses as soon as we turned 18 and different things like that so we can be on our own. And with that stupidity, we ended up learning a lot of lessons by actually living them. Okay, instead of learning with wisdom from other people's mistakes and listening to what people were saying and allowing them to help us to make better decisions. So that's where your accountability comes in. So stop making us look stupid when you call in these shows and you're not in connection with yourself and you don't know what the hell these men are asking you. You pretty much make a fool out of all of us and allow them to continue to stereotype and generalize us and pretty much say that our value is in how much we're able to give them sex, and that our minds don't mean anything. That's not true. Well, thank you for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video about the male presence, and I hope this taught you some truth about what we need to expect in life and the real value in people. My name is Dr. D. Oracle. Have a great day.